Tonight on the Daily Debrief, Kevin Spacey is facing criminal charges. Plus, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is home from surgery. And the government shutdown and its effects on the courts. Also, Christmas Day criminal incidents in the headlines. That's tonight on the Daily Debrief for Wednesday, December 26. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Debrief. I'm Aaron Keller. Glad you're with us tonight. A lot to talk about coming out of the Christmas holiday, including this next story, actor Kevin Spacey facing criminal arraignment on criminal charges, of course. Prosecutors say the incident happened on Nantucket Island off Cape Cod in Massachusetts. There, Kevin Spacey is accused of indecently assaulting the teenage son of a Boston television news anchor. The son told police in October 2017 that Spacey got him drunk after a shift he was working at a restaurant there. This was back during the summer of 2016. And then the son said the actor stuck his hands down the son's pants. Police documents indicate that a Snapchat video of Spacey groping the teen may be part of the evidence in the case. An arraignment is set for January 7th. Attorney Sanford Rubenstein is with us in studio tonight here on the Daily Debrief. Sanford, good evening.
Good evening.
So, victims advocates are applauding this prosecutor for going ahead and filing charges against a famous defendant with a lot of money. What are your thoughts just as a threshold on this Kevin Spacey case?
Well, to be quite frank, initially I said, wow, 2 years later, something's not right about that. But then I saw his text, his whatever he put out. It was so bizarre that I can't understand how a defense lawyer would allow him to do something like that.
I think you're talking about that Twitter video that Kevin Spacey, we're going to go there in just a second. So, you know, he tweeted this out right after the charges came out saying that you know, you knew you shouldn't have trusted me. That was one of the things he said. He said, you don't believe the accuser without facts, do you? And he's in character as his House of Cards character here. So, you know, one of the questions I have is, are prosecutors going to try to read between the lines of that and somehow maybe even try to use it against him?
Absolutely. I think they will. The fact of the matter is, he should not be tweeting those kind of statements, which could very well destroy him on cross-examination if he chooses to take the stand during this trial, which I think he has to.
You know, could his defense attorneys turn around and say this is nothing but a desperate plea for some attention?
I think they could say whatever they have to say to try to explain it away, but it's not going to be explained away. It's not going to be explained away that easily.
I'm really curious about this video because it sounds like prosecutors have statements from the alleged victim and also from the alleged victim's girlfriend. Apparently, someone recorded video of something between Spacey and the alleged victim, and then it wound up getting sent to the alleged victim's girlfriend. It sounds like they must have something here.
You know, as we've seen in other trials, video, pictures of the truth are so important to a jury and even a judge in making a determination with regard to guilt or innocence.
Sanford Rubenstein will check in again with you at the end of the broadcast. Other news now, the shutdown of parts of the federal government influencing the court system this evening. Many federal attorneys are prohibited from working during the shutdown unless their cases concern emergencies involving the safety of human life or the protection of property. That affects civil attorneys more than criminal attorneys. Either way, though, several federal judges have postponed cases involving federal government attorneys until the shutdown is over. New questions tonight about the veracity of documents submitted by America's acting attorney general. The Wall Street Journal reports that Matthew Whitaker appears to have falsely claimed he was named an academic All-American while playing football for the University of Iowa. The Journal claims Whitaker made the misrepresentation on his resume and at least one government document. The organization which bestows the honor has no record Whitaker ever received the distinction. A spokesperson for the Department of Justice says Whitaker's resume and documents relied on a 1993 college media guide which contains a partial misprint. Whitaker actually did receive a lesser honor. A Christmas Eve opinion from a federal judge awarded the parents of Otto Warmbier more than $500 million. Warmbier returned home from North Korea in 2017 and died shortly later. Officials there said he stole a propaganda poster and they punished him with a 15-year sentence. U.S. officials believe he was tortured in a labor camp, but North Korea says he had botulism. Warmbier's family sued under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act for violations of international law. Despite the large judgment, it'll be difficult for the Warmbiers to collect. North Korea only has about $63 million in assets in the United States, and that money is frozen by the federal government. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has left the hospital today after undergoing surgery for 2 malignant nodules on her left lung. Ginsburg fell and fractured her ribs last month. Tests performed after the fall revealed the presence of those nodules. Ginsburg spent 5 days in the hospital, spending much of the time reportedly working. Scans revealed that the malignancy was caught early and did not spread. Further treatments are not planned. At age 85, Ginsburg has survived broken ribs, this latest health scare, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, and has had a stent placed in her heart. Still, she has never missed an argument before the court. A New Hampshire prep school student convicted of sexual assault is back behind bars tonight. A judge has ordered Owen Labrie to serve the remaining 10 months of his original sentence starting today. Prosecutors accuse him of committing a sexual assault against a female classmate as part of a sexual conquest called the Senior Salute at the prestigious St. Paul's School. The family of victim Chessie Prout said, "Today the perpetrator who sexually assaulted our then 15-year-old daughter will finally be held accountable for his crime and sent to jail to serve his sentence. To date, he has shown no remorse nor accepted any responsibility for his actions. We hope he never sexually assaults another person in the future." Chessie Prout has gone on to write a book. The Christmas holiday was not a time to celebrate for some criminal defendants. Now for a quick recap of holiday incidents in the news. A fight in Kentucky over menu options for Christmas dinner led to criminal charges. Sheriff's deputies there arrested 21-year-old David Brannon of London, Kentucky, and charged him with throwing a ham at a woman. He's then accused of running from police. He faces charges of assault and fleeing from officers. It's unclear what actually did wind up on the menu. Another Christmas argument turned deadly. Sheriff's deputies in Hillsborough County, Florida, say 82-year-old guy Richard Vicery shot his 50-year-old son. Son died at the hospital. It's unclear what led the men to argue on Christmas Day. Vicery is in jail on 1 count of manslaughter with a weapon. A father from rural Georgia who worked as a Santa Claus at the local Walmart has been arrested and charged with the deaths of his 2 teenagers. Police say Elwin Crocker Sr. led them to a location on his own property where his own kids were buried. He, his wife's mother, and his wife's mother's boyfriend, seen here, are charged with concealing a death and child cruelty. But authorities say those charges may be just the beginning. Crocker's teens disappeared several years apart. They were homeschooled, and it took time for others to notice they were missing. A 78-year-old Florida man is accused of mailing death threats to the mother of a survivor of the Parkland school massacre in Florida. Warren Stanley Bond was scheduled to appear in court today after prosecutors accused him of mailing a threatening communication to the mother of David Hogg. The letter complained that Hogg was working against the NRA. Bond is said to have admitted to sending the letter. He also said he recently resigned his own NRA membership. If convicted, he could face 5 years in prison. An exchange student at a Pennsylvania university is in trouble with the law after allegedly poisoning his roommate, and this case has racial undertones. Authorities say 22-year-old Yukei Yang, a chemistry student from China, put the toxic metal thallium in his black roommate's food, water, and mouthwash over the course of several months. The poisoning caused a, quote, lasting impact on the roommate's health, though the roommate was able to graduate. Authorities say Yang previously intimidated his roommate with racist graffiti. Yang now faces charges of attempted homicide, aggravated assault, simple assault, and reckless endangerment. A town justice in New York State has resigned after accusations that he's just too old school. Justice Bruce Skolton of the town of Harmony in western New York State resigned effective at the end of this month after an ethics complaint. The State Commission on Judicial Conduct says he failed to check his official email account for more than 3 years. They say he also failed to adopt necessary software, failed to report more than 2,600 cases to the State Department of Motor Vehicles, and failed to deposit court funds into the bank. Skolton is prohibited from seeking or accepting any other appointment to the bench. As the holidays are a time for memories, it's natural to look back on memorable moments from the previous year. For some of the most volatile incidents caught on camera in our nation's courts, here is Anthony Velez.
I'm Anthony Velez for Law&Crime, and here are your top 5 caught on court camera moments of 2018. Number 5.
God! God! God!
A suspect in a double murder was denied bond in a Florida courtroom after screaming from a wheelchair during his bond hearing. 19-year-old Damon Kemp is accused of the fatal shooting of 19-year-old Trey Ingraham and 19-year-old Jordan Payton at their home in Daytona Beach. Kemp, who was reportedly staying with the 2 victims at their home, is seen being disruptive during his bond hearing.
God! God! God!
I've reviewed your arrest warrant to determine whether there's probable cause for your arrest.
That?
Kemp now faces 2 counts of second-degree murder. Number 4. A crazy melee unfolded in a Florida courtroom after a guilty verdict was read in a murder trial. Video shows the eruption of violence after the verdict was delivered in a murder trial with 4 defendants. 3 of the co-defendants can be seen brawling with their own defense attorneys and court bailiffs. Once order was restored to the court, all 4 defendants were sentenced to life in prison. The 4 men were convicted in the shooting death of 28-year-old Courtney London in 2016. Number 3. A man in Oregon was caught on camera trying to grab an officer's service weapon during his trial in a Lincoln County courtroom. 27-year-old Scott Patrick Lemon can be seen quickly standing up and unsuccessfully lunging for the gun of a Newport police officer before being tackled to the ground by another officer. Lemon was convicted for robbing 2 guests at a beachfront condo in Newport with a fake gun. Number 2. A judge in Washington state played the role of court officer and chased down 2 handcuffed inmates who made a run for sweet freedom in his courtroom. The inmates, 22-year-old Tanner Jacobson and 28-year-old Cody Howard, saw an opportunity to escape and went for it. That's when Judge R.W. Buzzard surprised everyone and leapt into action, chasing down the fleeing inmates. Buzzard was able to apprehend Howard before he exited the building. Jacobson was caught by officers a few blocks away. Here's the number 1 caught on court camera moment.
We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty of...
Daniel Villegas was found not guilty of murder, ending a 25-year saga that included 3 trials and appeals. Villegas faced capital murder charges for the 1993 fatal shooting of 2 teens in El Paso and served 18 years in prison prior to his acquittal. Villegas, who was 16 at the time of the killings, faced his first trial in 1994, which ended in a mistrial, but was convicted during a second trial a year later, receiving a life sentence. The bittersweet moment of his acquittal was caught on court camera.
We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty of...
That was the number 1 caught on court camera moment. I'm Anthony Velez for Law&Crime.
And still ahead tonight on the Daily Debrief, we are already looking ahead to 2019 with some of the top trials on the docket for the coming year. Plus, New York City police officers attracting attention after this incident in a subway station. That's after the break on the Debrief. Welcome back, folks. Jury selection has continued and opening statements are on the calendar for a case we're planning to cover very shortly here on the Law&Crime Network. Jeremiah Monell of New Jersey is accused of stabbing his wife to death and leading police on a manhunt. Victim Dara O'Shea Watson died in December 2016. The openings are scheduled for January 3rd, just after the holidays. If convicted, Jeremiah Monell faces life without parole. He already rejected a 30-year plea deal. That's the first case we're planning to cover for the year 2019. However, there will, of course, be many, many more. Here again tonight is Anthony Velez with the top trials we anticipate.
I'm Anthony Velez, and here are the top upcoming trials of 2019. The quadruple homicide trial of Charles Chase Merritt, the man accused of fatally beating a business associate, his wife, and their 2 preschool children, is set to begin on January 7th, 2019. The 61-year-old suspect is facing charges in connection to the disappearance of business associate Joseph McStay, his wife, Summer, and their young sons, 4-year-old Gianni and 3-year-old Joey Jr., from their home in Fallbrook in 2010. The family's remains were discovered in the Mojave Desert in 2013, and Merritt was arrested in 2014. Merritt represented himself for a short period, but later sought legal assistance. Merritt now faces the death penalty if convicted. The trial of the retired Tampa police captain who claims he fatally shot another man in self-defense during a dispute at a movie theater is scheduled to begin on February 25, 2019. 75-year-old Curtis Reeves reportedly fatally shot Chad Olson inside the Cobb Grove 16 after the two men argued over Olson's use of a cell phone during previews. Olson allegedly approached Reeves and threw a bag of popcorn at him before Reeves drew his gun and fatally shot Olson. Reeves tried to claim a stand your ground defense, but a judge rejected the defense argument, and that decision was upheld on appeal. His defense team will reportedly argue self-defense at trial. Reeves is now facing a second-degree murder charge. The trial of the Georgia man accused of killing an 11th grade history teacher in Ocilla is set to begin in April 2019. The defendant, Ryan Duke, was arrested in 2017 in connection with Tara Grinstead's 2005 disappearance and death. Duke and another man, Bo Dukes, reportedly told friends at a party a month after Grinstead's disappearance that they killed Grinstead and burned her body. Duke now faces multiple charges, including felony murder. Bo Dukes faces charges of concealing a death, tampering with evidence, and hindering the apprehension or punishment of a criminal. A man accused of killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend and a police officer who tried to arrest him in Florida will stand trial in May. Marquis Floyd is accused of fatally shooting his ex-girlfriend, Sade Dixon, on December 10, 2016, before shooting Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton when she tried to arrest him in January 2017. Lloyd reportedly lost the use of one of his eyes while being apprehended by authorities, claiming he suffered an unprovoked police attack. Lloyd now faces the death penalty. The trial of Pan Hupp, the woman accused of killing a mentally disabled man in Missouri to cover up another murder in 2011, is set to begin in June. Prosecutors claim Hupp fatally shot 33-year-old Louis Gumpenberger to divert attention for the murder of Betsy Faria, whose husband, Russ Faria, she framed for the killing in 2011. Hupp was the star witness in Faria's first murder trial, resulting in a guilty verdict. Faria was later acquitted during a second trial. Hupp now faces a charge of first-degree murder for Gumpenberger's killing. The two suspects, accused of killing a Florida State law professor in a murder-for-hire plot in 2014, will face a jury in June 2019. The suspects, Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua, reportedly hired a hitman, Luis Rivera, who allegedly drove from Miami to Tallahassee and fatally shot Dan Markle. Rivera took a plea deal to a lesser charge of second-degree murder in exchange for his testimony against Garcia and Magbanua. Investigators believe the suspects were hired by Markle's ex-wife's family to kill Markle over a custody dispute, but no family members have been charged. The suspects now face charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder. The ex-wife of NBA star Lorenzo Wright is set to stand trial for his murder in November 2019. Shira Wright and her cousin, Billy Turner, are accused of conspiring to kill Wright in 2010 when Wright's body was found with multiple gunshot wounds in Tennessee. The pair allegedly had a co-conspirator, Wright's cousin, convicted killer Jimmy Martin, who allegedly assisted with the cleanup of the crime scene. Martin turned state's witness, leading investigators to the murder weapon, which was tossed in a lake in Walnut, Michigan. Wright now faces a charge of first-degree murder, but won't face the death penalty if convicted. I'm Anthony Velez for Law and Crime, and those were the top upcoming trials of 2019.
It's going to be a big year, folks. And now for our daily recap of criminal incidents making headlines. Back one final time tonight is Anthony Velez.
Here are today's top crime stories trending on lawandcrime.com and across the country. GoFundMe reportedly refunded nearly $400,000 to the 14,000 donors allegedly scammed by a couple and a homeless veteran who set up a fake fundraiser on the site. The feel-good story began with the homeless man, Johnny Bobbitt, giving Caitlin McClure $20 after she was stranded on Interstate 95 in Philadelphia in 2017. To thank his kindness, McClure and her boyfriend, Mark D'Amico, started a GoFundMe page for Bobbitt, which raked in over $400,000. Turns out the whole ordeal was a scam, and now all three suspects are charged with conspiracy and theft by deception. Investigators in California arrested two suspects in connection with the fatal stabbing of a homeless man caught on surveillance camera in November. The two suspects, 23-year-old Fred Scott Johnson and 28-year-old Savannah McKinley, are charged in connection with the killing of the victim, 58-year-old Hernando Perez, who died from multiple stab wounds. The pair were reportedly caught on surveillance camera after the attack, and authorities described the pair as transients. Johnson now faces a charge of suspicion of first-degree murder, and McKinley faces a charge of suspicion of accessory to first-degree murder after the fact.
Step back! I don't want to hurt you back! Step back! Step back! Step back! Step back!
A New York City police officer is being praised as a hero after a video went viral of the cop fighting off a group of reportedly drunk homeless men during a foot patrol inside a subway station. The officer, Saeed Ali, is seen fighting off the group of vagrants after asking them to leave the station.
Get out of my face!
Oh, he's running! Oh!
The men were taken into custody, but the district attorney has reportedly declined to prosecute the case. Those were today's top crime stories. I'm Anthony Velez for the Daily Debrief.
We've got a little bit of time left here. Sanford Rubenstein still with us. So what do you make of the subway fight? We ask a lot of New York police officers, and here it's a guy on solo patrol. It's one against many.
I would suggest to you that that officer is a hero, and that that officer is a model for other officers to use restraint when dealing with drunken people. In addition, I think the fact that no charges were brought against these people may put me on the same page as Pat Lynch, the head of the PBA, which is very unusual, particularly since as a civil rights lawyer in New York, I find myself usually on the other side of issues. Because the fact of the matter is, that video seems to show an assault on a police officer. And that's something they should be prosecuted for.
That's what it looks like to me as well. And look, I mean, we're on the subway. We're in and out of New York City here. And we see things like this going on. And who knows who else is around? Somebody had the camera. So there were other people that officer was protecting.
Once again, pictures of the truth. So it shows what really happened here. And I think the district attorney's office is doing the right thing in saying that if the charges were assaulting a police officer, they would reconsider prosecuting these men for doing that. So I think at the end of the day, you see a police officer who's doing the right thing in using restraint, and the possibility that these men may be charged with the crime of assaulting a police officer, which they should be.
Okay, so one of the other questions, and we don't know the answer to it, at least I don't, is what happens to the guy who winds up on the tracks? I mean, there's an electric rail down there.
Once again, the police officer had them turn the power off and probably saved his life. This police officer is a true hero.
He's the kind of guy we want to see on the force. And this is coming from you, a guy who is usually suing the police department.
But rightly so, in cases in which they act wrongly. But the fact of the matter is, when they act like this with restraint, that's a good thing, and it's good for the public to see that.
So we've heard it from you. Sanford Rubenstein, appreciate you being on the Debrief tonight.
Thank you for having me.
That's all the time we've got for tonight here on the Daily Debrief. A reminder that our live trial coverage here on the Law&Crime Network will pick up tomorrow beginning at 9 a.m. We've got some great recaps of memorable cases from this year planned before live trials pick up after the first of the year. I'll see you back here on the Debrief from 5 to 5:30.